you know, oh, thanks, Luke. This is very important with regards to athlete pools, whether you got the right registered testing pool, uh, whether uh, there are many questions. Whether some of them ask, do we need a registered testing pool? Who is in the registered testing pool? How do I know? Or somebody say I did not on my video. Sorry. Okay, thanks. Um, how do I know whether we have the right number of people for a registered testing pool? All right. Is the registered testing pool under the IF or is it under the NADO? Are there other testing pools? What is the requirement for the other testing pools? So we are going to cover quite a bit here. Okay, we are going to cover quite a bit here. I like all of your patience to hear out so that for once and for all, this topic is very clearly covered. And in between, halfway through the presentation, we will pause for any questions that you have. So if you have any questions, put it down on paper or somewhere. Halfway through, we will give a pause and then we'll continue with the presentation. All right, so let's start. I still have people coming in. All right. First, an overview. All right. We will talk about definition of athletes at different levels, the registered testing pool under the International Federation versus a NADO registered testing pool, the normal testing pool, other pools, what are whereabouts, monitoring of whereabouts, mandatory education, especially for the RTP athletes we are touching here, as well as monitoring of education programs. As you know, there are more and more athletes in this region who are at the Olympic and Paralympic level and getting medals, which is, we are only happy that they are getting it. All right. So this is of pertinent, relevant information. Okay. Now, let's first start off. What's the definition of an international level athlete? All right. According to the ISDI, any persons who compete at international level as defined by the International Federation. I repeat again, as defined by the International Federation. And how do you know what is the International Federation's definition of an international level athlete? You can actually go to this website, the ITA website, and the ITA website have indicated all the international federations and what their definition is. All right, the criteria are published for all NADOs to be aware. So don't say that you were not aware he is an international level athlete. So the first thing you can do now is, after the presentation, go to the ITA website and find out some of the main sports that you are involved in, your country is involved in, all right? And what is the criteria for an international level athlete? Take note, why are we interested in this? Once the person is classified as an international level athlete, chances of he being in the registered testing pool is very high, okay? Next. Oops. What about definition of national level athletes? Now, this is something all NADOs need to look into. Any persons who compete at national level as defined by the National Anti-Doping Organization. So, sorry, can you mute it, whoever it is? All right. Any persons who compete at national level defined by the NADOs. Remember, it is you who define. You can discuss with your relevant stakeholders to identify what you want to consider as a national level athlete. Usually, according to the Article 4.3.2 of the ISDI, they compete at the highest level of national competition. Example, the national championships or other events that count towards determining who is the best in the country in the particular category discipline. Those selected to represent the country in international events. Now, they may not be an international athlete, but they are selected by the country to represent international events or competition. Nationals of its country would generally often compete at international level, but who are not classified at international level athletes by their international federation. Okay, so the international federation don't consider them as an international athlete, but you consider them as at least a national level athlete. All right. Obviously, there are in some of your countries professional leagues. Okay, you look at the ISTI guidelines for implementing an effective testing program. There are athletes in professional leagues, but usually athletes in professional leagues, you don't cover their testing. They usually come to you as a fee for service. Okay, so are we clear with international level athletes, national level athletes? Again, if you have any questions, write it down. We will clarify it halfway through. Example of national level athletes definition from CCES. CCES is a Canadian Center for Ethics in Sports. So you see, for them, national athlete pool is all of this. So we ask yourself a question, what's your NADO's definition of a national athlete? All right, okay. Now, don't define it such that you do lesser tests. That should not be the way. All right, define as to what it is most pertinent in your country. All right, so we have covered international, national level athletes. All right, now having an international, national level athletes definition very clear, we now go into the registered testing pool, which we have all been talking about. Registered testing pool is generally referred to as RTP. All right, RTP. Now, a little bit about RTP. RTP is for the pool of highest priority athletes. Example, athletes in receipt of public funding, part of national team, train independently but perform in major events, sporting performance history. You have a stage of career, return from injury. What does that mean? A great athlete who is injured, he recovered, is coming back. All right, an athlete from a junior going into a senior and who has been accepted to participate at the highest level. These are the highest priority athletes. They are subjected to focus in competition as well as out of competition testing as part of the NADO's test distribution plan. We had previously done one on risk assessment and TDP, and you know that some of these athletes are there. All right, subjected to mandatory whereabouts requirement. Remember, mandatory, it is a requirement. All right, so this box clearly shows you what is an RTP. Highest risk athletes who meet the criteria of ISTI 4.5.2, 4.5.3, 4.8, 6.1. I leave it to you to go and read this, understand this. If you're not sure, translate it and understand what it is to your whole testing team. Quarterly whereabouts filing in Adams with daily 60-minute time slots, overnight address, competition schedule, regular activities. This is what the RTP athletes need to put in. Daily 60-minute time slot. All right, where they are. Their overnight address. We will show you later in detail. Minimum 3 tests per year. Remember, minimum 3 tests per year. Code Article 2.4, consequences apply. Because if they got a whereabouts failure, we again tell you what the whereabouts failure later, they are considered as having an anti-doping rule violation. All right. So that's what the registered testing pool in general, some of the key points. Now, the next question we ask, IFRTP versus NADO RTP. Okay, what do we understand by IFRTP and NADO RTP? IF, International Federation, athletes competing regularly at the highest level, Olympic, Paralympics, and they are determined mostly by rankings. Example, badminton in Indonesia, Malaysia, even Thailand. You have athletes, somehow badminton very popular in this part of the region. All right. They're competing, they have recently went for the series. They are always on the top. All right. And so what happens? So they actually will be under the IFRTP. However, there are any high priority okay, please off your volume, thank you. High priority athletes participating in international athletes, but they don't come under the IF. All right. So before adding athletes into the NADO RTP, check with relevant IF. Check with relevant IF. Now, some of the smaller countries here might be wondering now this question: do I need an RTP athletes? None of them is at the international level. Neither would, or they are even considered as international. What do I do? Hold on first, we will explain. The key here is for the bigger countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore. All right, I'm trying to think of some of the countries. These are the people that need to be mindful of, because I do know you have athletes competing at the highest level. All right. If they are not in the IFRTP pool, and there's a very high chance that they might go into the IFRT pool, all right, you would want to consider putting them in your NADO RTP pool. Okay, where if they are in your NADO RTP pool, remember they still are subjected to all these things. All right. Any questions, anyone? All right, hang on first. Let's go first. All right, I'm always tend to ask any questions all the time. All right, now some.
Sorry, Mr. Gavi.
Is that Azani? Azani, hang on.
Azani.
Just hang on.
Hi, Mr. Gavi.
Just now. Say again.
Just now you said that RFRTP shouldn't be in NADO RTP, right?
Yes.
So how can we put them into our pool? Can they?
Oh, okay, very good question. If you can put them in your pool because you do the risk assessment, you do the RTP. I'm coming to that soon. Azani, just hang on.
Okay. Right.
Hold your guns. I'm coming to that very soon. All right. Is everybody clear with this? Remember the one in red. Athletes should be in only one RTP. All right, not two, only one RTP. Now, Azani has a question, but I have the answer here. Some NADOs have a good communication channel with the IFs to decide whether an athlete will be included in the IFs or NADOs RTP. This practice has been applied when a country keeps some high world ranking athletes. I told you, badminton very well known in Malaysia, Thailand, even Singapore now, as well as Indonesia. All right, you got to have a very close contact with the BWF and tell them, hey, we got a whole range of athletes. Can you tell me which of our athletes are in your RTP? All right. So once you know that they are in the RTP, there are other international athletes that comes under your NADO's RTP. All right. Some NADOs request the National Federation to send a list of the IFRTP. Why? The NADOs are sometimes, the NFs, the National Federations are sometimes involved in this because the IF tell them that, hey, these group of athletes are in the IFRTP. However, they don't bother to let you know. So the job is actually of the NADO to establish a rapport. Don't ever say the National Federation need to establish a rapport. Obviously, when I ever present anything to the National Federation, I always say a two-way, but it's the NADO's responsibility to go and find out. In any case, NADO and IF need to agree between themselves which of them shall accept the athlete's whereabouts filing. All right? Now, that only is one part of the question. I've answered Azani's. I have not completed yet. Just hang on. All right, next one. Testing pool. So Azani, hang on. Now, how do you put them in your RTP? That's hang on first. I'm covering all the pools first. So I've covered about the registered testing pool, IFRTP, NADO RTP. Next, you have the RTP. There's something known, registered testing pool. There's something known as the testing pool. In some countries, they call it DTP, domestic testing pool, to differentiate between the RTP. For some countries, they call it RTP and TP. All right. Now, what is a TP? Article 4.8.10, a TP is a tier below the RTP. All right. Athletes that NADOs plan to test at least once a year, at least once per year. All right. That's the testing pool. Athletes from sports that have sufficient whereabouts information to locate for testing. All right, you have sufficient information you can get. 2.4 whereabouts requirement does not apply. People take note of this, very important. 2.4 is what? 2.4 is whereabouts failure. For the testing pool, the whereabouts failure does not apply. But does that mean they can do as they wish? Because you also want some whereabouts information from them. We will come to that very soon. NADO should, within their rules and procedures, include appropriate and proportionate non-code Article 2.54 consequences. What does that mean? If your athlete is in the testing pool, you are going to test him. That guy can't be bothered, and he said he's there, he's not there. Now you need to create an internal consequences. All right, because they are different from the RTP. Now, don't let them fool you. Every time you go, they are not there, they are not there, they are not there. Something is wrong, and the onus is on the NADO to do something about it. What can you do about it? We will come to giving you some examples soon. Now, before we move there, all right, athletes have the right to be notified about their inclusion in the RTP and the TP. All right. This is athletes' rights, and this is a NADO's responsibility. If you are having any athlete in your RTP, you need to notify them. If you have any athlete in your TP, you need to notify them. I know for sure many countries have not notified your testing pool athletes. All right, this is a wake-up call. Okay, whereabouts requirement for different pools. We already told you about the RTP pool. We told you about the TP pool. Consequences also different for RTP, for TP. All right, you need to clearly indicate all this. These are the athlete's rights. In case of whereabouts failure, the athlete's right to dispute appeal, athlete's right to review. Now, all of these athlete's rights need to be put in that letter. Now, this is a template for RTP athlete who provide info to you. Notice, so this is an inclusion notice for RTP athletes. Likewise, there's an inclusion notice for the TP athletes. All right. So NADO should notify each athlete for inclusion into NADO's RTP. All right, Azani, so I've answered your question here. NADO's RTP, this template is in the WADA website. You all need to send a letter to your RTP athletes. You need to send a letter to your TP athletes. If you have not done so, it's time that you do so. All right, whereabout requirements, athletes should comply. If it's RTP, 60-minute time slot every day in the Adams. If it is a TP athlete, they can let you know however they want to let you know and how you want them to let you know. And the consequences should be conveyed. In cases when NADOs go through a third party, National Federation, to notify athletes, it's the NADO's responsibility to make sure that NFs notify and the athletes receive the letter. What happens? Sometimes this letter is sent to the National Federation, and then later the NADO complain. Oh, Mr. Gopi, I've already given it to them. They never did anything. So people, that's bullshit, because it's your responsibility to go through with the NF to ensure the athletes receive the letter. All right. So that's inclusion notice for RTP athletes. Now, again, inclusion notice for RTP athletes, before you include the athlete in your RTP, you have to liaise with the IF to ensure that that athlete is not in the IF's RTP, number one. The other thing which you can do lately is liaise with the International Testing Agency. Now, the International Testing Agency sometimes covers a good number of sports for which they act on behalf for testing of international level RTP athletes. All right, they have a system called PASS. All right, and you can start liaising with them. From what I was told, that ITA will create an account and you can get access and you can see whether certain sports which the ITA is covering. All right, remember, certain sports that the ITA is covering, you can see whether the athletes' names are there. All right, so bottom line, there is a couple of things to be done, especially for the bigger countries, especially the RTP athletes. All right, next one. Inclusion notice for TP athletes. Now, this TP athletes involves everyone here, including the smaller countries like Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Timor-Leste, etc. This is also a new requirement. It's a new requirement to send inclusion notice for athletes in the TP. And I am very sure that some countries have not sent it to their TP athletes. So again, this is also in the WADA website, the template. Include any consequences for whereabouts failure. Now, for RTP athletes, we know what's a whereabouts failure. All right, for TP athletes, it's slightly different. You create your consequences and you indicate what the consequences is. If you don't put the consequences, the NADOs will face problem in future. Let me tell you that. All right. So what is the consequences that you can put? I think, so that's later, right? Yeah, that's later. Let me just touch on that later. All right. The consequences. We can just give you one or two examples. All right. Now, we have the RTP pool. We have the testing pool. There's something called other pools. Now, what are other pools? Other pools is when athletes do not meet the criteria for 4.5.2, all right, whereby to us, actually the RADO don't even see some of these things. I think Kenny is here. Kenny might be able to also help out in this. In terms of other pools, there can be pools whereby, give you an example, they may not be a regular national federation, all right, they are not a recognized sport. Example, football maybe, so that could be your other pool, number one. Number two, you get information from open source, all right, or requested from National Federation. Hey, careful, this training camp is taking place, I know, I really want you to test them. So it is not in the registered pool, it is not in the testing pool, it will come under the other pool. All right, now, next. So basically, this is what it is. It is important that all of you understand all the different articles and what all this means. All right, we spoke about the RTP pool, and from the RTP pool, you want to know whether it's the IF RTP pool or the NADO RTP pool. How can you find out? It's for the NADO to contact the IF, for the NADO to contact the ITA. All right, you establish rapport with the IF. It's time that I know, like Thailand has a very good rapport with some of our IFs. I would expect the other bigger countries to do likewise. You're not expecting the IF. I know there's some bigger countries here. You have not done anything of this. The IF start approaching you because they want the IF to be in the RTP. Now, they may be in your testing pool or in your NADO RTP pool. There are instances where the IF will call you and the IF will tell you, can you transfer the custodianship into us? That's a different story, going to ADOPS and you transfer the custodianship. All right. Okay. I'm not sure why people are coming in and going out, coming in and going out. All right. A little bit about whereabouts. Okay. First thing, NADOS IF creates athlete account on Adams. If they do not have an account, generally, if an athlete is well known as RTP athlete, is already have an account. Check whether he has an account first. Because if you just go and create an account for everybody, that end up becoming duplicate accounts and it becomes an issue. All right. You need to inform the athlete on the login credentials. How can the athlete go about logging in? All right. That's number one. So how is it done? There is a new screen. Go to Adams. You can create a new account. And please check first. There's an athlete advanced search. Check whether the athlete's name is there. If not, create a new account. We have a couple of people here who I think are much more knowledgeable and have the great experience. Chika is here from JADA. We have Kenny here from the regional office. So if any of you, Kenny, Chika, if you want to add in later, please add in whatever. All right. Okay. And we appreciate screenshot courtesy by JADA because we had put this pretty last minute actually. So creating an athlete account, fill in the necessary details. You can look through that. It's pretty straightforward. All right. Next one. Look at this. If there's a phone number, I strongly advise you to put the phone number because when you go for whereabouts, you cannot find the guy. At least you have the phone number there. Labels, street address, country, town, city, postal code, etc. Good for them to also include the postal code, but in some countries, because when you put the postal code to reach the athlete is much more easier with the the GPS and all that. All right, creating an athlete account, do the necessary ticks, whether it's a national RTP, all right, testing pool, international, national, others, etc. Okay, pretty straightforward. The screenshot is there. Now, this is put together with me and Sui. If you want another round to go through and explain a little bit more, Sui will take it through with you another day. All right. So demographic. All right. An example we have here. Say make sure status is active. All right. Login information. You see my whereabouts. If the guy says 2021 fourth quarter, you just need to click in and he says the whereabouts is there. All right. And it even clearly indicates whether it's submitted or not submitted. Okay. Yeah, thanks. This will open the whereabouts guide and view the missing requirements. I am not going to go through all this detail. It is the role of the NADO to read through all of these things and ensure they all submit in time. All right. And view the missing requirements. So information provided by an athlete in an RTP TP that allows NADOs to locate the athletes for out of competition. That is the whole idea of whereabouts. NADOs can specify a date for athletes to submit a quarterly whereabouts. So for example, first quarter, 1st January to 31st March, submission deadline, 15 December. Next, 15 March. So this is the submission deadline. And athletes must stick to this submission deadline. All right. So athletes should also update information immediately whenever there are changes. These changes could be traveling, could be training, could be he's got COVID, he's no longer traveling, he's in the house. All these are changes. All right. Or maybe his travel got postponed, etc. Whereabouts requirement for RTP athletes. Sorry, this one more with regards to changes. Sometimes the athletes in big countries, they go to interstate. They go to a different state. They go to their parents, which is in another state or very far away. They need to update. All right. Okay, whereabouts requirement for RTP athletes. Quarterly whereabouts filing, providing accurate, complete information. What is the complete information? We have already shown you some of it. We'll go in detail some more. mandatory for information to be in Adams. Remember, not calling you, it must be in Adams. And NADOs have an obligation to check whereabouts submission for accuracy. Remember, role of the NADO to check the whereabouts submission. When was the last time those of you with the RTP athletes have checked the whereabouts? I'm asking a serious question here. You don't have to answer me. Your conscience will tell you. Okay. Now, we have time for any questions. Just give me 1 minute. I need my cup of tea to push. Any questions now? Now is the time for, there are some more slides. Huh? I just ask you whether there's any questions, anyone. Up to now, is there any questions? I thought I stopped the screen first. Anyone, any questions? Yes, Riza, you put your hands up. I can't see the slide, the picture, that's why. Yeah.
Sorry, I cannot, give my video because I'm in the hospital right now, hospital settings, to be.
Oh, it's okay.
Can you hear my voice? Can you hear my voice, Gobi?
Yeah, yeah. Riza, you got to be quick, Riza, on your question. Yeah. What's your question?
Okay. My question, the first question is the first one. Gobi, as you know that we are Ladi Indonesia is creating our organization and also the job description on every member. So about checking the whereabouts of the athlete, I think this is a huge job for us to do because we have a lot of athletes. Is it the job of Adam's team or the testing teams? Gobi, can you please enlighten us about this because we want to run the job description of each of our member. The first one. The second one, how can we ensure that the whereabouts is accurate? Should we call them one by one? Where is the athlete, or can we just believe for what they said here, Gobi? Thank you very much.
For the first question, all right, it all depends on how you put your whole testing team together. I think I don't want to micromanage each NADO, all right? It all depends on the NADO, all right? I think Mai is here from DCAT, all right? If Indonesia is as big as Thailand, you may want to see how Mai manages his testing department. He's the head of testing there, all right? There might be some people in charge of Adams, there are some people in charge of risk assessment, etc. All right. So ultimately, who is in there? There are some NADOs here that goes to one person do the in competition, one person do the out of competition. So it's a question of how you want to delegate. So this is a very operational thing, Riza, which I leave it to you. Now, what was your next question? I think your next question will be answered. Just give us a time because you need to monitor. All right, and we'll tell you with regards to the monitoring very soon. All right.
Okay, thank you very much, Gobi. Thank you very much for explanation.
All right. Sue, you want to continue? I'm getting Sue to continue.
Okay. So now we will be talking about what information that the athletes in the RTP need to fill in details. So for the first part is some personal information such as their home address, their email address and phone number, their sport and sport discipline, and they should include an overnight accommodation address if applicable for them. And they should also include activities that they do on a regular basis, such as their training, their work, or their school. And they should also include the locations and the time of their activities. They should also include competition schedules, including when they are taking place and at which location. For RTP athletes, there is a need to indicate a 60-minute time slot each day that they'll be available and accessible for testing. But it is to note that athletes can be tested anytime and anywhere, not only in the 60-minute time slot provided. Slide. So there are some exceptions to the 60-minute time slot. For example, if the NADO if the athlete is in the NADO RTP, if there are dates in the relevant quarter that the athlete is scheduled to compete, for example, SEA Games, the NADO may consider to waive the 60-minute time slot in respect of in-competition dates. Yeah.
Thanks.
So for this, right, there are screenshots from Adams. So for example, this athlete is going to file his place of residence. So if you know that you are going to stay the same place the entire quarter, you can just fill in the residence and you can just click the entire quarter and next slide. And it will show in orange here. So the athlete can file your whereabouts information accordingly. For example, trainings, you know that it will be every Wednesday and Friday, we can also put it in. So you don't have to file in day by day if it's a regular activity. Yeah, so this is the zoom in version. So this is a video that is available on YouTube provided by WADA. So this is a step-by-step information for athletes on how they can fill in their whereabouts information on Adams.
Thanks, Sue. We wanted to actually show the video, but it's going to take 8 minutes. I think you guys can get access and you guys can view the video.
Selected the relevant days in the quarter
We will stop
and
this.
indicated a start and end time. Save the entry. If you wish, you may assign your 60-minute slot to your regular activities entry.
Okay.
You must enter a 60-minute time slot for each day of the quarter.
All right.
So this is a whereabouts module that RTP athletes can take on Adele. And this will let the RTP athletes know what is the RTP and how they should be filing their whereabouts on Adams.
So what does this mean? Basically, this means that the RTP athletes, once they take the module, they will be told how to do it also, yeah?
So for TP athletes, the whereabouts requirement is different. They only need to fill in minimum information such as their overnight address, their regular training activities, and competition schedules, if any. So as mentioned before about the consequences set by NADO, for TP athletes, if they fail to submit their whereabouts requirement, we have some examples from other NADOs. So we have one example from Sport Integrity Australia. So if the athlete in the TP fails to update their whereabouts information, so for the first time, there will be a warning letter. And then, so up to the NADO's discretion. So for example, for some NADOs, they actually have a 3-time whereabouts failure. And after the 3rd time, they will include the athlete from the TP to their RTP. So that is one of the consequences. We have one more example from UK anti-doping. So for them, it's the same. For if their athletes in the TP fail to submit their whereabouts 3 times in a 12-month period, then they will be moved to their RTP and they will be subjected to mandatory whereabouts requirement. For whereabouts requirement for other pool athletes, it is the least amount of whereabouts information required, and all the whereabouts information should not be requested from the athletes. So the information are known from the national federations, for example, the competition schedule, the athletes training, the team athletes training, sorry. Yeah. And the code 2.4 whereabouts consequences does not apply for the athletes in the other pools. Yeah. So next, Mr. Gobi will talk about the filing failure and missed tests.
Thanks. So with regards to the filing failure, very clear, failure to make accurate, complete whereabouts filing, or athlete fails to provide complete information in due time in advance of an upcoming quarter on the first day of that quarter, then it will be considered as non-submission. That's a filing failure. A missed test is a failure by athlete to be available for testing at a location and timing specified in the 60-minute time slot. So you said you are there, when you go there, they are not there. All right. So both of this is a whereabouts failure, whether it can be a filing failure and or a missed test. Remember, it's an and or missed test. So 3 whereabouts failure within 12-month period, it's an anti-doping rule violation. the 12-month period referred to code 2.4 starts to run on the date the athlete commits the first whereabouts failure. Example, all right, first failure is in February 2021. So the 12 months starts from here. Second failure in July. Third failure in November. So what does this happen? This results in a whereabouts failure. Okay. Now, another example. First, whereabouts failure. This is a missed test. All right. Second one is here in 2021. Now, then here's another filing failure. This is over the 12-month period because 2021 is over. It's a 12 months here to February or even in January also he does it. He will not be considered as violating the rule because this will be considered as a restart to the new year. Okay, so that's with regards to whereabouts failure. There's an Athlete Central app. I don't think I also want to show you this app. It is there. You can go and take a look. This is just a teaser here. All right. So let's move on to the next one. Roughly what they. Oops. Okay, never mind. There is a very short one. Is available on App Store and Google Play Store. Everybody has a handphone now, all right, and it shows you very clearly how you can update your whereabouts on the move. So there should not be any reason why they should not. See, the time slot is there, activity is there, the competition, the overnight accommodation, the traveling and others, and everything is there. All right. Now, there can be instances where the athlete may not know what to do. All right, he has maybe a learning disability or not able to decipher, understand. The athlete may choose to delegate to an authorized representative. This is an example taken up from, I think, the Sports Integrity Australia, I think, but previously ASADA, all right. An authorized representative form needs to be officially signed, but the responsibility is still on the athlete for accurate and timely whereabouts filing. So they can delegate to someone, they can help fill, but the responsibility is still with the athlete. All right. Okay, monitoring of whereabouts is mandatory for NADOs to review athlete whereabouts submission. NADOs can check through ADAMS, information submitted by deadline to see whether they have submitted and all required information is present. Take note of this last part. As part of compliance monitoring program, WADA will be ensuring whether NADOs are reviewing and monitoring of whereabouts. Okay, so that is a requirement under compliance monitoring. So again, this is what is it. You can click on the reports. All right, you go to whereabouts submission report. Okay, quite a few selections to generate. Whatever you want, you can tick on it, and you can, if you click on my organized whereabouts pool, national athletes, you can add them. All right, save, and then it will turn out everything. This is something Sue just put in. A comma separated value CSV document can be generated into an Excel sheet. Using the Excel sheet, you can see a list of athletes in your RTP, and you can check whether they submitted or based on other criteria you have selected. All right, so you don't have to go one by one. You can pull out everything. Okay. Now, a little bit more on quickly. This is just basically for the RTP athletes. All right. we always mention education first, not testing. All RTP athletes should have an ADEL account. All right. Consider making courses mandatory for RTP athletes to complete. Some NADOs have translated the e-learning modules. Cambodia is quite far ahead in translating to Khmer. All right. And I know Malaysia is on the process of getting it done. Thailand is also, Atos is here, I think has done a good job, etc. with regards to this. All right. So there are ADEL modules for you to take a look. All right. And ADEL for RTP athletes. This is where the whereabouts essential, everything is taught to them. Okay. And ADEL for international and national athletes. Again, they can take that. All right. And monitoring of ADEL courses. It's mandatory for NADOs to monitor the education program. I assume all of you have the ADEL Power User account. So if you use the Power User account, you can automatically pull out, all right, this ADEL for Tokyo, how many of them did it, percentage of course status, who did it, who did not did it halfway through, etc. All right. So that becomes a monitoring evaluation tool for NADOs, and you can see the times and dates they started the course, last access, etc. All right. And that's basically it. All right. We have recorded this. We have sent in the recording and the PDF version to all of you. We will send it to you. Couple of things for those of you who have missed and come in late. We would like you to review whatever which was spoken earlier. All right. For now, I am opening it up to questions as well as Kenny. Any thoughts, Kenny or Chika? I'm not sure that Chika is still around. If you have any inputs, if you like to say a few words or anything which I missed out or I should have emphasized, because as a RADO, we don't actually monitor RTP athletes, etc. Anything, Kenny?
No, I think this is very good presentation with a lot of information regarding the whereabouts and very informative. And I just would like to ensure that the result management for whereabouts is not an easy one, because this result management shall be conducted without any like a positive report or AAF report. So I just recommend all the participants to review in detail regarding the result management process of the whereabout failure. And if it's okay, can you show me the slide for the whereabout filing failure slides? There are two slides.
Okay, just give me 1 minute. I'm glad you. Oops, where did I go? Sorry, Kenny, I not always have this issue of. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, let me just go back. Is this the one?
Yeah. The next one, please.
Next one? Okay, yeah.
So this is very clear because the athlete were declared 3 times within 12 months. So this is the ADLV for 2.4. So please show me the next one. This one is a little bit tricky because the athlete first missed test declared in February 2021, and the second missed test declared July 2021, and the third one actually declared in February 2022. So this means the third filing failure declared after the 12-month period. So this means after the 12 months, the first missed test declared will be discarded. This means the second declared missed test on July 2021 shall be counted the first whereabout failure. So this athlete, maybe if this athlete has another kind of missed test declaration from ADO in April or May or June 2022, then this means this athlete committed 2.4 anti-doping violation. So this is a little bit tricky. So.
Yes. Thanks, Kenny. Very nice point, very good point. So I hope all of you understood, huh? All right. So if this, although it's a new year, this will be where the first one starts, because then it continues, right? This will be the second one, and third one can appear somewhere around here. So it is not the calendar year. Kenny, am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
It is not the calendar year, people. Take note, it is not the calendar. It's from the time of your first failure. So this first failure, second failure, now this one, although this, I'm also a little confused here. So we start from here, is it, Kenny? From July?
So in this case, the athlete, if declared filing failure on February 2022, this means this athlete already have two declarations
Yes.
from
yes.
July 2021. Yeah.
From July 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope everyone is clear on the results management process. Please highlight to your RM people with regards to whereabouts failure and what need to be aware of. All right. Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Anything else? Chika, anything, Chika?
Almost, it was very informative information, and I just want to mention that whenever you create an account, you need to make sure there's no how to say, you need to check the athlete is already in the Adams. Most likely, many athletes taken test before being in RTP, so they should have the account already in Adams. You just need to issue the account.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you. Now I'd like to open the floor. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. All right. For the smaller nations here, take note, it is not a must.
Mr. Gobi, good morning from Myanmar.
Yes.
Yeah, do I need to test the International Federation testing pool? RTP. Do I need to test as NATO? What
Sorry,
about?
I can't hear you. Can you explain again?
If the athletes are in the International Federation RTP, do we have plan to test as NATO?
Okay.
Do we need to test them as NATO?
Okay, good point. This is what I gather. Kenny, Chika, please add in. If it is under the International Federation's RTP, usually the International Federation will liaise with the NADO, and sometimes they will get a third party like ITA to do the thing. Let's talk about off your mic first. Okay. They will usually ask, say, for example, ITA to do the 3 testing. Sometimes they might call you and tell you, hey, we are doing 2 testing. Can you do the 3rd testing on this side? That's a possibility also. All right. Am I right, Chika?
Yes, and also if the athlete is in the IFRTP, you still can test them,
Yeah.
but you don't have to. Well, yeah, it's not the mandatory for you to test, but because they are high level athlete, you still can test them, but it's not your requirement, but the IF requirement to test 3 tests for them per year.
Okay, so thanks, Una. I think that's very clear. So it's the IF requirement to test. All right. Okay, so I think Mai has a very interesting message given to me to be shared with everyone. You must first communicate with the IF first. If an IF announces an athlete to be as an IF RTP, NADO, no need to put them in your RTP. And like Chika said, we have an RTP athlete year before. I know he's tested at least 3 times, but the NADO decided to test 1 more time in between in a local competition. Okay. Who again is responsible? Another question here coming up. Who again is responsible for creating the Adams account of the athlete? The NADO is responsible for creating the Adams account for the athlete. All right. But before the NADO create the account, all right, check with the IF whether an account has been created for them. All right. If you are starting from ground zero. So they will only be in our TP only, not necessary. All right, Azani. They can also be in the when you're talking about the RTP athlete of the IF lah, that you are doing a one additional test, yes, then it can be your TP. Yeah. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to put in the chat. Yeah, I think that's an easy way to put in the chat.
Bobby,
Yes.
for the account,
Yeah.
if the athlete is IF RTP, IF will create or issue the account,
Yes.
and IF has a custody. And
Okay.
if the athlete is in the national RTP, then the NADO creates, the issue the account.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once the account is created,
Mm.
it's there. So you just, if the athlete was IFRTP and demoved from the IFRTP but become the national RTP, you don't have to create
another one.
but
Yeah.
you just need to transfer the custody.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not always NADOs to create.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks, Chika. So to summarize, all right, if you're going to create an account for an RTP athlete, check with the IF. If they have already created, you don't have to. All right. Sometimes one athlete is not performing very well. The IF may no longer want him to be part of your RTP, okay, part of their RTP. So they might even pass the custodianship to you because he might still be competing at a national level. All right. And whether at your national level is very high, you want to put him with the NADO RTP, the choice is yours. Okay. Other questions anyone has? Are we very, very clear with all this? We notice a couple of things in this region. And I probably want to highlight this so that you can look into it. For the smaller countries, there is always a question whether they need to have an RTP pool. If you don't have an athlete, even at the IF level, are performing well, because some of the smaller countries send their athletes for only the SEA Games. And in the SEA Games, they probably get a silver, bronze, and then after that, they're not there yet. So it can actually be just be the testing pool. All right. For the bigger countries, all right, but the smaller countries, take note, even if the testing pool, you need to send a letter to them to indicate that they are in the pool. All right, and how you are going to collect the whereabouts from them, number one. For the bigger countries, there's a whole host of things to be done. Thailand is going through a rigor, I think he knows very well. Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam. All right. Have you had discussion with the respective IF where your athletes are doing very well? If you have not, the onus is on you to check with them. Some of you only respond when an IF respond to you or when an IF respond to a national federation. All right, these are all recorded. So if ever you are asked, or people ask me, I said all these have been told to you all. Okay, number one. Number two, the whereabouts, the letter of inclusion for the RTP and TP, have you sent it out? Number three, how often have you got a deadline for their submission of whereabouts? Number four, are you monitoring it regularly for misfiling failure or even mistests? And what can he say? If there's a 3 mistests, the RM can be a little tricky. All right, please read through that. We will try to look into it and we will try to see whether we can check on that in the coming year. Okay, any other questions anyone has? If not, I just have 2 things which all messages have gone to you. Our partner, Japan Anti-Doping Agency, is having anti-doping annual seminar which they have. It is on the 18th and 19th of January. I strongly recommend all of you to register for it because this is one platform in the Asian region where we can get a lot of information. number one. On the 25th of January, we have a seminar, a webinar on intelligence and investigation. All right. Again, most NADOs hardly have anything on intelligence and investigation. It'll be good for you to come in and listen to see what is expected of intelligence and investigation. And in case you want to form a partnership with Sports Radar, how can that be? And if you need help, and what can be done. All right. With that, I don't think I have anything else. So have you got anything else?
No. But can we take a photo?
Sure. Let's all put on our video. And let's take a... Hi, Alex. Good morning. Nice to see you here. Okay, can everybody put on your video? Shingo, you got a nice Christmas tree behind. The Christmas mood is there.
Morning, Gobi.
Morning, Lin. How are you? Wow. You got a very, it looks like you're in the office, yeah? All right.
Hi, Bin. Hi.
Okay.
Morning, everyone.
Whenever you are ready, you can take a shot. Sompet.
Good morning from
Good morning.
Laos. Gobi.
Good morning.
Yeah, I listened to you.
Have you taken Sue?
People are still on their video.
Oh, there's 2 pages. Oh, okay, there's 2 pages. Okay, I thought I was putting on smile for too long. All right, it's okay. So you can take it wherever it is there.
Okay. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If not, all the best. People stay safe. COVID is going down, and we hope to see each other soon. All right. Okay.
Thank you, Gobi.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gobi.
Thank you, Gobi. Bye.
Thank you, Sir
Goodbye,
Gobi.
Gobi
Thank you,
and Sui.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gobi and Sui.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Gobi. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Dr. Alex. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Gobi, Sui.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gobi. Sui.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Gobi and Sui.
Have a good day, everybody.